one of the things that it becomes this feeling of them versus us, and who is government and who is the state. I always laugh when I'm driving on the road and you see the signs that say no trespassing state property, and I'm like, terrific, since we pay the state, then that must be my property. So we are the state, we pay those bills, so I should be able to go onto the property. And you know, my point is you start to feel really detached from the process, from being effective, from having influence. And you know, we've been watching the town hall meetings on television lately, and there's just so much anger. And you know, one of the things that excites me about that anger is it's getting people who might not have otherwise spoken up or participated in the process to do so, because there's nothing more motivating than good old-fashioned anger and, you know, respectful, safe way.
If you see that anger exposed, that liberates your own feelings.
Right, and I hope it lasts. Yeah. I mean, I hope the intensity of those emotions lasts, where we feel like we can reclaim some of the, you know, some of our voice in government, because it's rare to talk to business owners and anybody involved in businesses in general that feel like government is really for the people anymore at all. I rarely hear anybody in business that talk about that, and even people outside of business.
You mentioned the recent town hall meetings. Now, many of those town hall meetings are revolving around the topic of healthcare reform. As small business owners, you're all responsible for your own health care. I don't know if you offer to your employees or not, but what would you like to see from healthcare reform that would make it easier for you to have health care and possibly offer it to employees?
It's so expensive. I admit I had to drop my own health care. It's $500 a month was the cheapest policy I could get for just me, for a single person. That's huge. That's a lot of money that I could be putting into my business. It's got to come down it's got a long way to go before I'd offer it to my employees. I'd rather have it myself first.
Sure.
Well, obviously in my case I'm so old, I'm on Medicare. But over the years we always offered that to the staff. The important thing, I think, would be portability. That is the biggest problem I saw, is that the insurance is tied to the employer. That should be tied to the person. And I wish they would come up, because we had a multi-state operation, the fact that every state has their own charter is very non-competitive. You know, if you open it up to be a multi-state operation, the competition would be stronger, prices probably would come down.
Absolutely.
And I always thought that there should be a tort reform. That has been such an artificial burden. I highly recommend the Grisham's book, King of Tort. Here's an attorney writing about his own subject and exposing what goes into these insane class action suits that projects the cost to the regular citizens.
Yes.
You know, it is totally artificial. It has no connection to reality, but it has pushed the prices up.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, when a jury can award millions of dollars to somebody who spilled her own hot coffee in her lap while driving,
Yes,
you know, there has to be some way that we can say, okay, we need to take responsibility for our own actions, not always jump into a lawsuit. And in cases where, you know, a lawsuit is actually justified, there needs to be, and there are actually economic formulas that can be used to calculate actual losses. So maybe we need to investigate that a little more rather than arbitrarily assigning $1 million settlements.
absolutely.
Well, we do offer, not full coverage, but we do offer healthcare benefits and dental to our employees. And every year, our insurance agent comes to us with the bad news that the prices go up 5, 10, 15, 20% sometimes every year. And it makes us look at the policies and have to switch policies and try to see which policies will allow our employees to stay with the healthcare providers that they're used to. And when you look at, COLA and inflation, which is at one level, and then the cost increases associated with the insurance premiums, they're not even comparable. So I don't know who's determining these rates. I don't know what the true expenses are. What I do know is every year, without exception, our costs increase significantly above cost of living adjustments and any inflationary numbers you might look at. And it's really a burden on staff and businesses that are trying to provide healthcare benefits to their employees.
Sure.
So more people will be like me and go without health coverage and hope you don't get sick. And if you do, they have a lot of programs that will help you, which will eventually get absorbed by everybody else.
But if you exercise really hard, you will.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's true.
So I hope I'm in the right business for that.
Yes.
One of my concerns about what's been going on with the healthcare debate is there's been a lot of focus on how do we lower the cost of insurance, but there hasn't been much talk about how do we lower the cost of the healthcare services. We need insurance because the cost of the healthcare services are so high. Now, there were a number of hospitals that ran a test, and they found that the service that they were able to provide improved and their costs went down with the addition of a simple checklist that every member had to follow. So I would really like to see the debate turn to what can we do to make healthcare more efficient? I mean, another idea, if you take a look at the Department of Veterans Affairs, they recently computerized all of their medical records. Just computerizing them saved them, I believe the figure was almost $50,000 per year per patient. So, why doesn't the state do more to encourage that? Why doesn't the federal government do more to,
There's a
encourage
pushback
that?
from the privacy lobby, because once it's computerized and available online, there's a worry that it would be available for tapping into, hacked into, and so you have a pushback there. Yeah, I totally agree that it should be, that any business would do it that way. But when we talk about public records, you do have another side to it always.
Yes, and the privacy regulations right now are very difficult to gauge. I was told a story a number of years ago of one nursing home that because of the privacy laws, they were not allowed to accept packages from Federal Express because they couldn't acknowledge that these people were patients without violating the HIPAA laws. So they had to have everybody either have their relatives bring items or use the U.S. Postal Service because they couldn't have a non-governmental agency asking them, is this person a patient there?
Yeah, there are always complications.
Yes. Before we wrap up, does anybody have any other issues they'd like to bring up or opinions they'd like to discuss?
I've got a point here. Why, so many people tell me that I went to my doctor and he told me I need to lose weight. Most of the problems that people have, from high blood pressure, cholesterol, even depression, can be cured with exercise. But rather than subsidize maybe their group fitness membership, their fitness center membership, the doctor just writes them a script. Here, take this pill.
You're absolutely right.